crazy.
So hello there, everyone. Thank you for being here on this Tuesday night. There is a Republican uh, convention going on right now, and we're kind of bypassing that. We are here at the same time as the Republican convention, and that's no accident. I like to not be part of the two-party system nonsense. So here we are. And we're going to talk about money and all facets that we can come up with. And it may be, you may kind of think it's a little boring as we go along, but it's not going to be because we're going to flesh it out in a way that makes sense. And before I introduce my guest, I want to say a special thank you to the Messy Garage, who has stuck with me and stuck with J. Chris and stuck with our community. It's Andrew Wayne Strammel, and he changed his YouTube name because he wanted to set up a channel. And so he's got a channel, and he says he's got baby truths. But I think one of the mods, Chappelle, Pauly Nation's going to be busy. So, Shappy, go find that channel, The Messy Garage, and drop the link in there, will you, friend? I appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys being here. So we're going to talk about money. And before I get any further, I'm just going to introduce my friend Pauly. You guys have met him before or listened, and he's got some things to say, and we're going to talk about money. So, Pauly, I'm just going to sit back and shut up and let you kick it off. So what do you got to say about money?
Okay, well, I want to open up with because I'm sure there's probably a few Pink Floyd fans out there in your audience, and they have a very famous song called Money. And one of the lines in that song is, "It's the ruler of all evil." Now, I I agree with it. Okay, let's take the word ruler, like one that rules over something. Okay, I agree with that. But one thing that just actually I thought about, the word ruler can also mean a long stick that measures things. So money is also actually a ruler, a measurement, if you will, of power. And how we ever ended up in this ridiculous situation where money basically is not only the ruler, i.e., the the governing body of your life, but it is also a ruler, i.e., a measurement of your success or your life that we were, or do you see what I'm saying here? It's a ruler and it's a ruler. Like, so it's a, it's a government and it's also a measurement. So, like, I don't understand how we ever ended up here. And what I want to ask is, like, I don't know. When I was a kid, I used to always ask, like, okay, who was the first guy that ever figured out how to cook stuff? Like, was it an accident? Did somebody's did somebody's food accidentally fall in the fire and they're like, whoa, that was really cool. Okay, so the first guy that was given money, what do you think he said? Like, what if I was the first person that ever received, like, let's say, a silver coin or whatever for whatever, my crops or my cows or anything? I would look at that person and be like, okay, that's great, but what am I supposed to do with this? Like, what? How did this is what really fascinates me about money is, how did it ever get past the point of the first guy asking, okay, so what am I supposed to do with this little shiny piece of metal? And okay, if I, let's say, buy a cow or a crop with this shiny piece of metal, what am I supposed to tell the guy I gave that money to what he's supposed to do with it? Because how am I going to explain how that makes any sense?
Well, yeah, sure. So let's go back. Let's go back to what do you think money is? Let's start there.
This is what I'm saying. I don't know what money is because
Okay.
what it seems to me is like there's a lot of these arguments that say, oh, we need to get our money back to like the gold value system. Like, money has to equal something and it's either got to be gold or silver. And I understand that. But my question is always, what are you supposed to do with gold or silver? it seems to be like it, it doesn't really like you can't eat gold and silver. Like you can't. Why is it? I mean, why is it even gold and silver that are more valuable than other metals?
I'm so glad you're here with me tonight, Polly, because I have some things I want to share with you that may or may not influence your thoughts about money. So, at the very beginning, when we go way back, or not the beginning, let's go to the fundamental. The fundamental nature of money is a representation of human energy. So, Polynation gets up in the morning, goes out and does something, and he creates this thing, and somebody wants this thing, and they give him what we call money for it. So, money at its base level is a representation of human energy. You get to create something, make something, grow something, build something, intellectualize something, shuffle some paper. Somebody else wants that. They're willing to give you energy for that. That is your energy being exchanged. Can you get that with me?
Yeah, it makes me think of the term or the saying "time is money."
Well, time of your energy is money. Yes, time by itself is not money because time is a fictional construct and it's just a way to separate the events that we experience. But the energy you put out creates something, and we represent that in this human realm as money.
Right, because your time is your energy.
Or your
So
labor, but your labor through time. So it's not your time because you could sit on your ass and do nothing and you're not going to generate any money.
yeah,
Correct?
I can actually prove that.
Yeah. You've been doing that for a little bit. So you can sit on your ass through time and it doesn't generate any energy and no money. But if your energy through time creates something, then they represent that as money.
Well, that's the thing though. It does create energy, but it just doesn't create money. So it like in a way, like some of the stuff that I've been doing in the last couple of weeks, I will admit, doesn't generate any income, but the energy that I'm getting from it is, and I'm sure you could probably, anybody that's been listening to any of the shows that we've been doing together or any of my shows that I've posted on my channel, you can clearly hear a comfort level that's getting like higher and higher, and an energy level that's almost like I'm feeding off the audience. And that's exactly what the whole idea of all of these podcasts is supposed to be, is you feed off the audience to create new ideas and to, you know, keep the momentum going. So in a sense there, you can't actually pay for anything like that. Like you can't go to YouTube and say, you know what, I want I want like-minded people to all come in and be the same line of thought and feed the energy and feed the conversation. Like so so that's why I think energy and time might be different, because no one ever pays for energy, they only pay for time.
And because you still, at this point in your experience, you still believe time is a real thing.
Well, yeah, there's that. um and also what I meant to say by being able to quantify like I'm not talking about energy in the sense of like spiritual energy or like where you decide to put your focus on. I'm talking about like, because you do have to pay for certain forms of energy like electricity and all kinds of other like utilities that we're kind of forced into paying for via taxes and all that other kind of stuff. So in a sense, then I guess money in another sense to me is also it's a really subliminal form of slavery.
No, no. Well, now you made a leap there. So we're trying to describe the thing that is money, and you jumped it to slavery, and we're not there yet. I don't think in the conversation. Um, I just have to finish this in YouTube. Sorry, and it contradicts what you said to me in Discord. But so here's my question for you. If you expend your energy and it takes you no time, like you're a brilliant guy, you can come up with a formula, you can write a computer program, it takes you no time, you expend your energy, you trade that for money. time I don't think is in the realm of the the relationship to money. We've been told it is, and we experience it as it is, but I don't believe it actually exists in there.
Now, okay, yeah, that's actually a really good point because that's always what I've been told is time is money.
Right.
But time is the only thing you have of any value, but yet you can still trade it for money. So what you just said there is probably going to make me rethink the idea of how valuable time is in quotations because maybe time isn't really that valuable.
So you're a musician, right?
Yeah, but that's the thing. Time is really important in music.
Wait a minute. No, forget that. You're a musician. You create music, right?
Sometimes.
Okay, sometimes you give your energy, your thinking, your soul energy, you give all of this into creating a piece of music. Does it honestly matter to you how long it takes to do that?
Um, to be honest with you, I've never really paid any attention to how long it takes to do that. But what
Because
I
because time does not exist. Go ahead. Sorry.
because it doesn't exist in that sort of framework of being creative and something coming through you.
Right. So if you could sell a piece of music for this thing we call money, what are you actually selling? Are you selling the time it took, or are you selling the energy it took to create it?
That's why I've always been uncomfortable receiving money from music that I've made because I can't answer that question, to be
Well,
honest with
you
you.
can totally answer that question. It has nothing to do with the time you spent. And the reason I would guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, the reason you're uncomfortable receiving money from it is because you willingly want to give that energy to create that music because the creation of the music is the most important thing to you.
Okay, yeah, true. I'm not actually willingly doing it. It's more of a necessity that I need to get it out. If somebody wants to take value from that, I can't. Who am I to quantify what that value is?
Well,
Uh,
the creator of it.
well, what if I'm the creator of it? Like, or what if it came through me? Then who am I to say that it's worth more to one person than to another when it clearly could be? And one person might be just like willing to listen to it on their mixtape, whereas another person would be willing to throw money at it and saying thank you for that that music. I mean,
No, I
so
get you. I get you. And that's a fair question.
I w-
And it,
I would I
go ahead.
would feel a little bit like awkward like about receiving
You'd feel
uh
dirty. Dirty for
well,
taking money for your music.
not dirty, but just like it seems like it's not because the attachment to money and time has been totally detached, and that's what I was brought up with is that time is money, right? So
Yeah.
people, well, how long did it take you to write that song, and how long is the song, and we can do the math and figure out how much that song is worth. That just kind of like demoralizes it to me.
Well, of course, and it should. And if you can pull time out of that equation, literal time out of the equation, it will shift the energy transformation from your labor to the what we call money. And I don't know if we're going to get there tonight, and we don't have to. We got more, so much more to cover with history and the reason society's so fucked up, and we've got a lot of things we can cover. But if you, what else do you create besides music?
Um, ideas.
Okay, so
Um, yeah, it's not. Okay. Here's another thing too, which is kind of neat. Is uh, when you think of trading time for money or money for time, um, what your time is to you is not what your time is to somebody else who could possibly conceive the idea of what it was that you did. Like
right,
let's say that you create a song and then a musician hears it who's like you know 10 times older or more experienced in music that than you are, and it's like, oh, I could do that in like 3 minutes. Whereas it took maybe the person who wrote that song 3 days. It is the same amount of time, or like, because if you put that on a record and it goes into the top 20, it doesn't matter how long it took the person to write it. You know what I'm saying?
I
It
know what you're saying.
it will still be generating the same amount of money no matter how much time somebody puts into it. So there's definitely some kind of a disconnect, but at the same time, a connect that we've been forced to believe to do with money and time.
Okay, so forced to believe is a subjective thing that I want you to rethink, but let's talk about time. Since we're here, let's talk about time. What do you think time is?
Okay, the time to me, if I was going to black and white it, would just be a measurement of, let's say, from what happens now to what happens 5 minutes from now.
So a
It
measurement of events.
it's it's a simple way to describe, uh yeah, order of events that
It's a
need.
measurement of events.
Right, and one thing can't happen before another thing. It's a set line that that we apparently need, for our primitive brains to conceive, uh, the motion of life, I guess.
Okay, so I'm just paraphrasing, and if I'm wrong, correct me. You believe time is a linear thing that measures events to keep them separate from one another. Is that true?
You're gonna have to repeat that. You cut out for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. You believe, and if I paraphrase you wrong, correct me, but you believe time is a linear event that separates, or a linear measurement of things that separates events.
I believe that's the way most people perceive time. Yes,
How do you perceive it?
that's the way I perceive it as well.
Okay, fair enough. So, if we're here, you and I are here in this present moment talking, and we had a moment 45 minutes ago where we were talking about a song by a band called Living Color in a different digital time, a different digital platform. That moment that you and I had no longer exists in the present moment, correct?
Well, sort of correct. Yeah, I would agree with that, but I would also argue that anybody can go back and, if it was recorded, listen to that, and then that time would be instantly implanted into their timeline.
Okay, so there's a record of it. Just like recorded history, there's a record of that event in the past.
Right, just like recorded music.
Yes, and there's a record of the Eagles, greatest band of all time. Sorry, had to do it. There's a record of it. It doesn't exist now, right?
Right.
It
But that
exists in a record of when it happened, but it doesn't exist in the present moment awareness. In the same
unless you
way,
unless you buy the record for
mhm,
money, and then you can play it whenever you want.
and you can play it in the present moment, and so
Right.
you can experience it in the present moment, even though when it was created it was 42 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so if that is true, then there can't be a timeline because we jumped from 1979 to 2002, and we brought information from 1979 to 2002 to somebody who had never heard it, and now it's brand new to them in this current timeline.
Okay, no, that doesn't mean there's no timeline. It just means that there's no, like, definitive direction that everybody's placed on said timeline.
Well, if that's the case, then well, no, that can't be true at all. Because if we have a timeline past to present to future, then I should not be able to go back in the past and bring a piece of music into the present and share it with somebody for their first time, other than through technology.
Right. Yeah, I was just because I was just about to say, but you can go back into the past, but it's only because it's been recorded.
in technology. So in the natural world, if you and I are up there fishing on a river in the amazing place that is Canada, and we have an experience with a fish, and then the next day we camp, we make breakfast, we wake up, we can never have that experience again.
Unless we record it.
Exactly. So without technology, we can't bridge the timelines.
It would seem that way, yeah. Without technology, at least in our present state, uh, that we wouldn't be able to do that.
So
But
in the
yet,
natural world, we can't bridge timelines only with the help of technology.
well, I don't know about that though, because there's ways of preserving information beyond that as well, which we've seen in history and rock carvings and all that kind of stuff too, right? So,
But that's technology, right? So you and I can draw a picture of our fish on the rock, and then somebody else comes and we can say we caught this amazing fish and we put it in the rock, and so you can experience it through that. That's still technology.
yeah, I guess it would be a form of technology.
And even in our
Yeah.
memory, and Modima Rose, she says, what about reminiscing? We can even use our memory to bridge that timeline gap. Because I remember I have a ridiculously good memory, and it's been my blessing and my curse in my entire lifetime. I can remember stuff that goes way back, and I can bring it to my present moment experience. It's not occurring now, but I can remember it in the way that when the Eagles first put out their album Hotel California, they cut a vinyl record, they put it in a store, somebody bought it. We can go get it and we can bring it forward to today and we can play it again.
As long as you have enough money, yeah.
Yeah, right, you can. And we don't seem to be able to do that on the other side of the timeline equation. We don't seem to be able to bring the future to our present so we can know it, right?
Right. So that's basically, I think, what you're trying to get at here with the whole time is not linear thing, maybe.
Well, absolutely. Time does, from my viewpoint, time does not exist the way we were taught. So, the reason I wanted to dig into that so deeply is that if money is time and time is money, then if time is not what we were taught, then money can't be either.
Yeah. Money is definitely tied to time so many ways, and I feel like I understand more about time, yet when I try to tie what I learn about time back into money, it doesn't make any uh real sense, I guess.
Well, of
Like,
course not. Of course not, because it's nonsensical bullshit they taught you to convince you that one thing was one thing and it's not even close to that thing, in my opinion. And I have to preface that because I don't want to sound like I know everything.
well, I don't know any everything either, and
But I want to get into this deep with you.
yeah, no, because I've never actually had a lot of money, and I probably never will, because what it seems to me is that the more money you have, the more problems you have.
More money, more problems.
Yeah, I, I hate to say it, but money can't buy you time.
No, because time is not the thing that we think it is, and money is not the thing that we think it is, which is a great jump off point. And I love Modema Rose in the chat. Love you, friend. You haven't been around nearly enough lately, but you're back, and I appreciate that. And what she said was it binds both energy fields up conceptually. So money and time binds both energy fields up conceptually. So part of the reason that Polynation has not had a lot of money is because Polynation believes money and time are connected, and neither one is a true thing within our reality. It's a something we were taught, and it's been explained to us in a way that deceives us tremendously. So let's go back to money. So can I ask what you do for a living, or should we not touch that?
I can do a lot of things for a living. Presently, I'm not doing any of those.
Okay.
So once I move, which should be happening within the next couple of weeks, I will be searching for a job in well, okay, I'll just put it this way. I can work in a kitchen, I can work on a farm, I can work in a bakery, I can work in a garage. Like I don't it doesn't really matter where I work. So like I can pretty much work I can work in a grocery store, I can work like
Perfect.
it doesn't really matter where I work as long as I make enough money to pay my bills and do what I want to do, then that's I'm happy.
And
And
that's a perfect example of how I want to illustrate fundamentally what money is before we even get talking about the political and the sociological ramifications. You, as a human man, can exchange your labor in all these different fields that you just explained. You can do many different things. You're willing to do just about anything because you like the work. You're willing to exchange your labor for the thing we call money. So, if we're going to be able to quantify what is money, it's a way to express your labor into physical reality.
right. But here's where my first question that no one's been able to answer. I've been asking this question for a long time. I remember asking my father this kind of question, and that is, why do we need money? What um my dad would say, you have to go to daycare because I have to go to work. And I say, why do you have to go to work?
We lost you, brother.
Yeah, the answer is obviously it's the most common sense answer that you would give any child who asks you that, because that's just how the world is, right? Like that's kind of like the sort of tone of the answer I would always get is just that it's just that's just how it is. Like okay, like that's what you're born into, and you just kind of have to deal with it. That's just no one gets to question that. Like it's a cute question. It's a cute question because you're a kid and like everybody appreciates your curiosity, but you're never gonna get a real answer.
Do
I
you
mean,
want the real answer?
if you want the real answer, try being poor.
No, do you want the real answer?
What the real answer is we don't need money.
Exactly. We don't need money. However, in this reality, in this realm right now, we use money as an expression of our labors. And we trade it for things that other people have used as an expression of their labor. It's just a representation of human energy. So when you get the job you get, whatever it is you choose to do, and you're going to put your efforts and your labor there, they're going to give you something called money, and you're going to trade that with somebody else who did the exact same thing. It's a medium of exchange, is all it is at its fundamental level. And it was that when it was little seashells on the coast of the Ivory Coast in Africa, and it was stones, and it was tulips in Denmark in the 1400s, and they had a tulip bubble, like our .com bubble, and it's just a
Well,
medium
okay,
of exchange.
I have a I have a fundamental problem with like where money came from in the first place, which was like, let's pretend you're the first guy, okay? You have like a ton of fish, and
Yep.
some dude walks up to you and offers you like a couple of seashells for some of your fish. You're gonna look at him and be like, no. I can get my own seashells, thank
And
you.
he says, wait a minute. If you take these seashells, you can give them to that guy over there who has coconuts that you can't get because you can't climb that coconut tree.
Okay, but then I would say, why don't I just give him some fish?
Because he doesn't want fish. He's got plenty of fish by himself. He's got fish and coconuts.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems sketchy still.
No, keep going. Keep going. Keep
I,
going with the conversation.
to me, it's like like how we discovered fire. Like, was it really lightning that struck the ground, or was it really someone who came down and said, "Hey, here's how you make fire," and people would be like, "Okay, cool, you can make fire this way." What the hell do we do with fire?
Okay, so
It,
you just jumped us back to a conversation that is so much bigger than money. And that's fine, and it's totally fine. And my question to you is, do you believe societal myths about the origins of man, Adam and Eve crawling out of the cave, Big Bang Theory? Do you actually believe all of those societal myths?
I don't know. I don't
Okay,
know.
fair enough.
I would say in saying that I don't know, I would say that logically deduces me as probably should have saying no, I don't believe it.
Well, whether you do or you don't, that's your choice. But most of those nonsensical stories that we base our current reality on are easily disproved with simple logic and a little bit of personal experience. And so when you ask, did some fire god come down and give us fire, or did lightning strike and some guy picked it up and say, shit, I can make fire, and now I'm the king of the fire? Who knows that answer, right? Nobody knows that answer. We can believe it, but we don't know that answer. So for me, in this experience that I'm having, I take all those and I push them aside because to me they're unknowable. And to me they're irrelevant.
They are unknowable. Whether or not they're irrelevant, I mean, I just simply do. I'm not intelligent enough to know whether or not they're irrelevant. But I still, I still imagine like if I was putting myself in the shoes of the first person to ever be offered a piece of metal for a cow, I would be like, go F yourself. What are you kidding me? They're not, I can't even plant this in the ground.
How about the
What?
second person?
I don't know.
How about the fifth person? How about the 20th person? How about the first person that said, okay, I will take your magic beans and I will trade you for my cow. And then he takes these magic beans or this silver and he trades them for a plow. I mean, I agree with you that it's a mental challenging conversation to understand how this all came into existence. I
how does the
totally get that.
how does the guy with the plow know the value of the beans if he's never seen them before? If it's just a piece of shiny metal, like instead of beans, like from an actual plant, and it's just coins, how does the guy with the plow know of the value? Like how did that all get like disseminated into a massive society and end up in banks and this is what fascinates me about money is
Brother, I'm right there with you. And that question leads me to simulation theory more and more and more.
maybe yeah because I mean like simulation theory would actually explain a lot of things very easily.
Who's the first guy that decided that the cow, because it's slow enough and I can walk up and cut its throat, is something worth eating? Who looked at a bunny and said, I want to eat the stuff inside?
Right.
Who was
Yeah.
that guy?
And who was that guy that was like, hey, you figured out fire, hey, chuck my bunny in your fire, let's see what happens,
Who
like
was
that.
that guy?
Yeah, that.
This furry little creature that's so adorable and just laying in the grass and eating a little bit of stuff. I'm going to go cut it open, skin it, take out the meat, and we're going to put it over your fire.
Yeah, you have to pardon the pun, but I don't buy it.
I don't either, which leads me to simulation theory, but has nothing to do with the money system.
No, probably not. We could do simulation theory on another day if you want.
Ducting was the first one to open up a bunny and say "eat it," according to the chat. And since I mentioned the chat, I'm going to click those three little dots and I'm going to do it lazy and I'm going to just shout out the chat, alphabetical order, backward. The Messy Garage. Nice to see you. Suzanne Casey. Always a pleasure. Smurfer Girl Whatevs. Chappelle, my only mod in here. Thank you. Even though I don't need mods because nobody knows I'm here, but thank you for dropping links. Salted Paul, Salted Cedar, Roberta Starr. It's been a while. Moonbeam, always. Modima Rose, of course. We talked about you earlier. Kristen Gallo, my special friend. General Sorrow. General Sorrow. I hope you're General Happy someday. Ducting, 082, Dark Slayer, Connie G, Brenda Mitchell. I missed somebody. Somebody jumped in there, cheated me. And Connie G. So thank you guys for being here. We're just having a conversation about money, and we've taken some dramatic turns, which I like, and we have shared some fun stuff. Um, Roberta Starr, yeah, you got to come back more often, friend. Good to see you. And Paul Johnstone, that's the one I missed. Holy cow, Brenda Mitchell, thank you for being here. So have we settled on what we think money is? Do we think it's just an representation of energy exchange?
Yeah, okay. I can see where you would get that analogy for sure, but I think there's something else to money that I don't even know what it is. I was hoping to figure that out here today.
Well, let's
Um,
keep going. Let's keep trying. But can you agree that fundamentally money was designed as a way to exchange labor for labor, ideas for ideas?
yeah, I also think that money possibly was put in place to enslave uh the people in masses, like to keep the bloodlines safe from there's only so many bloodlines, right? But if you look at the population, they've got like what, 2% of the population, if that.
Um,
So
well, I'm not sure what bloodlines you're talking about, so you can expand on that if you want.
any of the people that were in power, like the
Rothschild, Rockefeller, Queen,
even before that, there was
Council
always
of 20.
kings and pharaohs, and there was always it always seemed to be, at least what I was taught in history, at least ancient history, there was always like pharaohs or kings or like
Sure.
uh but there was always someone in charge, basically, is what I'm saying here.
Got it.
um
Okay.
I'm thinking that is probably continuously carried on throughout history,
Okay,
and
so
money
let's
was invented as a tool to not only solidify those bloodlines, but basically manipulate the mass population to gathering resources for your own means.
do you know much about how the banking system started?
I know a little bit. I've seen a few documentaries. Um, to me, when I watched the documentaries, basically what I got out of it was that basically where we are now is that money is created out of thin air.
Okay, right, correct today, but do you know how it started?
I don't know how it got to this point, but I don't know how it started either.
Well, let's go through that because I
Yeah.
happen to have some information on that. So there was a time in history where I had a depository where I could protect your gold. So Paulie went out and got gold, and he didn't really know how to keep it safe. People could maraud him and steal. And he brought it to me, and I said, I will hold on to your gold.
Why would I go get gold?
Because gold and silver are the noble metals. You can melt them down and turn them into something, and then you can melt them down, and they keep their same percentage every time you do it.
How does that help you live?
Well, it helps you live because we've already established that if you want to trade your labor for something that you don't possess, you have to have a means of trade. And seashells broke, and cow dung was too hard to carry, and tulips died, and so they found a metal that they could put into a coin form, and they could say, okay, it took me this much time again to earn this through my labor, so I can give it to you, and you can give me something of value.
So it's a glorified coupon.
It's exactly that. It's a medium of exchange, nothing more, nothing less. And gold and silver were the most enduring of all the ones that humans allegedly tried throughout the generations.
I think there's something else there with the gold and silver part, because we could have picked any metals. Like copper is, to me, just as valuable as gold or silver as far as like metallic properties go.
It's
Because,
not as valuable to society because it's not used in as many products.
but who instilled that in society? Why does society believe that gold is more valuable than copper? What what
Because
is what is it with gold and silver?
gold and silver are used in products that copper cannot be used in. So the computer that you're using or the iPhone you're using has silver in it. It doesn't have copper in it. So copper is less valuable than silver because I can't make an iPhone with copper. I can make it with silver.
Okay, but let's say 2000 years ago, when we didn't even consider an iPhone or anything like that, gold and silver were still considered more valuable than other metals. There must have been another reason.
Well, there could be, and that's a reason I don't have the answer to. I
Well,
Gold
this is
conducts electricity.
I think that reason has something to do with why money was invented in the first place.
Well, then you're supposing that those two rocks in the ground have something important more than the transfer of labor from one person to another. And I can't make that assumption.
I'm not making the assumption, I'm entertaining the idea, but yeah, I would totally entertain that idea that maybe that's because there's that whole theory where, like, humans were put on the planet to mine gold.
Well, if you want to go down Zachary Sitchin's thinking, or if you want to go into those kind of thoughts, sure, possible. I don't subscribe to that only because I am here in 2020 and I'm trying to make sense of a money slavery system
Well, that's
that
the thing. I can see that's where the money slavery system came from.
it could be. But
Maybe.
I'm trying to make sense of it here and now as to why we have people in the streets of Portland, Chicago, Denver breaking windows because they understand the inequity of the money system, but they don't understand the money system itself.
Mm. Okay, here's my opinion on a lot of the riots and damage that people are causing.
Sure.
I don't think it has anything to do with money. I think what it has to do with is people have been locked up for a long time, and if they have an excuse to go out and break something and they can get away with it, and it's maybe going to be on TV, I mean, that's a perfect trifecta. And I would, you know what? I can relate to that. Like, sometimes the amount of I mean, they're all first world problems. I have to admit, but um, I would want to go out and, if I knew that I could get away with throwing a brick through a store window that I hated the store because whatever reason, doesn't matter. I
Oh,
mean,
the reason matters.
and you're throwing that brick through the window. You're going to cost that store more money, and it's kind of like ha ha ha. I get it. Like and what better environment to do and get away with something like that than in these situations that you just mentioned. So I think it's a lot of those sort of stories that you see because the media picks and the cherry pick. Yeah, everybody knows this. The media cherry picks, and so this is what they're doing, and they're giving people the perfect environment to create those cherry picking stories where, yeah, that's what I think's more going on here than any sort of protest. I think people are just like,
You think they're just blowing off steam?
yeah, yeah, kind of. I'd say at least a portion of it. Maybe not everybody. There's probably a legitimate reason for a lot of the things, but I mean, come on, burning down buildings. How is that really going to benefit your own community? Let's go out and burn down buildings. Okay, now those buildings are useless. Now what are you going to do?
Well, of course not, but irrespective of that,
Now you just actually need more money to rebuild them.
most of the Antifa, Black Lives Matter, other things that I've researched are coming from a place of we have an unfair system. Blacks are being targeted, other people are being targeted. We're not
I agree with them, but I
we're
would
not
just
in a, we're not in a position of equity with the rest of society, and so we have to do something about it.
I would agree with them. They're totally right. The problem with their statement is that it's not just black people, it's everybody.
I agree. I agree. And so if you're dialed in with me, what is the reason that is?
A lot of it has to do with money.
It's the money system. So let's
Yes.
talk about that.
It's
How's money created now?
uh, I mean, it's created differently in different parts of the world, but uh
How is
basic
it how is it created under the crown colonies in the United States?
it basically created out of debt.
Okay, exactly. So a central banking system goes to a nation and says, "I will buy your bonds for this much money if you use my currency."
Yep.
And that happens in the Commonwealth nations, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. the UK, Scotland, Ireland, South Africa, kind of still, and the United States.
It happens everywhere, and that's why there's actually more debt than money to pay it off.
By an astronomical number that you and I are not smart enough to calculate. Absolutely. So if we have the system, and how familiar are you with the U.S. history of banks and money?
I've seen a few documentaries, like I've seen the Zeitgeist documentaries, so I understand how the money system sort of developed. Like,
Okay, and
but
so
it's not, I'm not an expert by any means.
sure. So for our audience, anybody who's listening in chat, the United States did not want to use the British Crown money for their trades because they were taxed heavily on it and they were limited on how they could share their labor. And when it got to the point where it cost them so much money, so much, they said, we're going to have to fight against this. And so they fought a revolution, according to history. During the founding of this nation with the Continental Congress, after the Articles of Confederacy were written, these men got together and they said, we're going to build a nation. A couple of them said, yeah, but we need a central bank. And the others said, yeah, but we don't need a central bank, Thomas Jefferson specifically. Alexander Hamilton on the other side, who wanted a central bank. And so they came to a compromise of we'll have a central bank, but the central bank can only have so many powers. Well, they did that for a while, and then the charter ended, and then they did it a second time, and the charter, Andrew Jackson killed the second central bank. He did not renew the charter. He said, no, no. In the Constitution, it says Congress has the authority and the designation to regulate money and the value thereof. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 5. And then America was free for about 20 years. And then the War of Northern Aggression happened. 1913, we had another central bank installed, which is a violation of the Constitution. They took over the currency system. It's been that way ever since. It was supposed to expire in 2013, but some president renewed it who we don't know. And so there are people who own alleged money, who buy our government bonds, who put currency into our nation, and all of us use it. And that's a nutshell version of the history of money in the United States. What it does is what everybody has been saying in the chat, it enslaves us. It makes us serfs on the land, because not only do we have to use their money to live, but we have to pay taxes to the same institution that creates our money. And it's universal in the Western world. Go ahead.
And I think that maybe the introduction of the monetary system was sort of a uh, very fluffified, if you will, way of getting us into the merchant law system instead of the admiralty merchant law system instead of the law of the land, which has very little to do with money.
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah, mercantilism and the mercantile system is directly tied to admiralty law. And then that's another huge topic that would take us 15 hours to sort through.
Yep.
But the way money works in modern life is, and it's a mind virus, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I still keep like going back further. Like before the USA was even a country, like there was the Roman Empire. They had money. They had all this kind. Like, how did they get the idea of money?
It worked
How?
the same way. Well, I don't know how they got the idea, but it worked the same way.
Well, that's what I mean, though. Like it works the same way. So if it works the same way, isn't it more likely that they were sort of told or instructed to implement these sort of like monetary rules rather than just like someone randomly figuring it out, like a lightning bolt hitting a tree and then a guy walking away with fire?
Well, agreed. And so either the Dark Angels implanted that thought into humans and it became a mind virus, or this is a simulation where we're fucked and we just have to try to navigate it. You tell
Yeah.
me.
Well, leaning towards the simulation actually at this point.
Well, there could be dark angels and Nephilim, and the Bible could be correct. And they came down and they corrupted the minds of man to where man says, I have to trade my labor for this gold coin. And if I trade this gold coin for money, then I can get food. And Paul Johnson, dude, chill out over there. We're all exploring this together. Don't be a jerk. I like you so much, Paul. Don't tell them they're years behind. We're all in this. We're all in this on the same path.
There's a reason why I'm years behind, all right?
You're not years behind. Not at all.
I am.
You're
I'm there on
asking
purpose.
you're
I did that
asking
on purpose.
you're asking amazing questions and talking about cool things and bringing up things that I didn't expect to talk about with in relationship to money.
Well, that's why I'm here. I would love to always be the person that brings up things that people don't expect on any topic, anywhere, because my mind, I just like to freaking throw it out there, and if whatever it bounces off of, it comes back and bounces in through the microphone. That's that's what I'm. Yeah, that's what I'm about.
And I think people like you for it. And I think as people get to know you and learn your channel, they will like that aspect of you. I think something we can agree on for sure is the money system as we currently experience it is a serfdom system.
It's a form of slavery, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nobody in the Western world that doesn't need money. And I'm guilty of saying this a lot, and that I don't like money. I know I need it, but I don't want it. So I'm trying to work out a way to be the only person that, or maybe hopefully be able to teach everybody how to not need money. Um, I want to be rich without having any money at all.
If you can ever be without money, you will be wealthy. Beyond belief, God made this place of fantastic abundance.
Yes,
However, we're the only species in this place that has to pay to be alive.
you're right. We're the only ones that pay to live here.
It
That's
doesn't cost that fox nothing.
well, that principle alone should actually be a really huge yellow flag for people that have never considered the ideas we're talking about here, and that is that money is only there so that you have to keep making money.
That's a good way to say it, but another way I would say it is it's a mind virus.
Yeah, you're totally right. It is a mind virus, but it's actually a very effective mind virus because it's actually physically manifesting itself. Because if you don't make enough money, guess what? You're homeless. But then again, if you go to another part of the world where money is not that valuable, um, these people go through way more hardships than even homeless people in the Western world.
Well, yeah, if you're homeless in America, you're doing better than a lot of places in the world.
Yeah.
Absolutely, for sure. You get free food from places that want to help you. You got a place to take a shower. You have a bathroom. You're not being chased down by a tiger and you're not being whatever. But if money is a mind virus that we have adopted that sometimes determines our self worth, sometimes determines how we interact with each other, then breaking away from that mind virus to me is the only way we're going to be able to navigate this reality without money.
You're right. That's the only way we're going to get out of it. Unfortunately, that this mind virus is almost mycelial in nature, in the way that it acts almost like mycelium in mushrooms under the ground. So you're walking in the woods, and 6 inches under your feet is this whole huge network that you're not aware of, and that sort of to me metaphorically relates to what the money system is. It's everybody needs it, and there's no way around it. Like without it, the ground wouldn't be there, is what I'm saying. Like that's so if you're born into that kind of a system, how are you supposed to be able to get out of it? There's It's actually a really, really cleverly designed system. Anybody who's born from, I mean, like 400 years ago on, even probably earlier, has been basically a slave to the money system.
Right. And there was a question, a good question from my friend Modima Rose. So is it money or the central banking system that is the problem? Well, I would say money as an exchange of labor is not a problem. It is fine if Polly wants to build my deck and I want to give him something that represents his labor and we can call it money. It could be vegetables. We could still call it money. There's nothing wrong with that. The fact that a central banking system owns the monopoly on it, that has a usury system attached to it, that I would say is the fundamental problem.
Yes, because then those banks, they can say, well, everybody's becoming sort of poor or whatever, so we'll just print a whole bunch more money, and then in 10 years when everybody forgets that we printed money out of thin air, we'll just call this thing inflation and we'll throw that in there. And so now instead of paying $2 for a dozen eggs, you're going to pay $12 for a dozen eggs, and we'll just keep printing more money and raising the price of everything. Um, if people don't see that that's what the monetary system is doing right now, there's especially right now with all these benefits that they're just handing out. They're just literally printing money out of thin air, so that in maybe a year, possibly two at the most, we're you're the whole Western world is going to be in such a hyperinflation that it's going to cost a lot of money for things that used to be like pennies on the dollar.
Well, correct. And that's happened before. Happened in the Weimar Republic before Germany went through its nonsense. And all these things are cyclical if they're fiat money, which they are. Um, I would ask, I would wonder if you could work with an honest money system where a day's labor equaled a silver coin on average for most people. If we worked on that level and we didn't work on interest that doesn't exist with money we can never pay back, do you think we could have a better chance at all of us getting along in this better?
I actually think that if we just got rid of money altogether, that we would probably build closer relationships with our neighbors. Like I'm seriously thinking, like, let's just ditch the whole idea of, like, I'm not going to give you a silver coin for you mowing my lawn or whatever. What I'm going to do is give you like half a dozen eggs or something uh instead. And the next time, if I don't have a half a dozen eggs, it'll be maybe like a pound of potatoes or something else or whatever. Maybe the next time I'll be the one that's like doing work on your land, or like there's really absolutely no need for money in my opinion. If I'm uh, if I'm being too far out there to, because I get why I've heard all the arguments. Oh yeah, we need money for this, we need money for that, we need money. Uh, sorry, I can see a world that doesn't need money. If I'm the only one that can see that, then call me crazy.
No, you're not crazy, but do you think in an interrelated service economy where we don't really produce things, we provide service, do you how hard would it be to go to a barter system
Oh,
instead of
don't
a
say that.
monetary system?
Don't say barter system. I think that's okay. Uh, here's the thing about barter system. The word barter system, it it automatically makes people think about a time that's primitive, and
Well,
uh
unless you're a progressive prepper, then it doesn't.
Right, right. Well, yeah, but I mean, like, how many of those people are out there as well? Like,
Half
it,
of my chat is.
okay, so the other half.
Half of my half of my audience are progressive preppers. Promise you that.
Okay, so the oh, you threw me off. Where am I going with that? I don't even know where I was going with
Well,
that
you
now.
know you hate the term barter system.
Yes, because yeah, they should call it something else. That's yeah, thank you.
Well, what's
They,
in a name though? As
I don't,
Shakespeare said, a rose by any other would still smell as sweet.
yeah, I don't get that.
So get that out of your head. That's another mind virus for you. Barter system. What is it you
Stick
can produce in what is it you can produce in real life that I could use?
humor, music,
Okay,
art, food.
you can produce food?
Yep.
Okay, good. So I can build your deck, I can fix your toilet, I can install a water heater, I can fix your car, I can drywall your bedroom. I can do these things. And so if you're going to produce food for me and I'm going to fix your bathroom, then we have to do something to make sure we're square with our labor. So we call it barter. And it's just a word. It's just a word. We could call it trading instead. We could call it swapping, whatever. But if you put a posting on a board that says, I got a busted toilet and I can't do it, and I have vegetables that I can give in exchange, and then I say, well, shit, I'll fix your toilet. I'll get the vegetables. That's a barter system.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm just saying that the term barter system often comes with this sort of stigma that throws everybody back into the Stone Age when
Are
we
you
didn't.
sure? Are you sure it's not just for you?
It's for a lot of people. It's not just me.
Let's find out. If you in the chat, if you guys
Oh,
don't like
unfair
the term,
audience. Unfair audience.
if you
Okay.
don't like the term barter, push 2, and if you think barter is a fine way to talk about it, push 1, and we'll see what happens.
Come on, one.
It's just you, brother, honest to God. And the Rotman said it really well. The government hates barter
See, this
because
is fun.
well, good. The government hates barter because they can't tax it.
Yes.
I think you guys got the question backward. If you like barter as a word, press 1, press 2, and if you don't like it, press 1. I think you guys got it backward. Oh, they hate the word barter.
What I was trying to say was, like, I agree with the concept of the barter system. What I often encounter is a stigma that's attached to the barter system, where it's like, oh, what do you want to go do? Go back to the barter system? You
Right.
know, you know
And
what I'm.
what I would say is yes. If somebody asked me that, I'd say absolutely.
Yeah, so would I, because I have tons to give. Like it, I don't really need that much either. So it would more likely be, from my standpoint, especially depending on how self sufficient everybody should be. Is like, well, what do you have to offer me?
Right. And they would say, I can fix your car. You
What if
can't
I don't
fix
have a
your car.
car?
Well, I can fix the thing that's broken that you can't fix.
I would never build anything I couldn't fix.
You could Paulie, now you're just being a
Yeah, no,
contrarian.
yeah. Now I'm just being a dick. I know. Sorry,
You're just being contrarian, which is fine. And
devil's advocate.
well, and maybe, but does it does it progress the conversation? Does it forward the conversation? That
Sometimes it does.
has it so far? Nope.
Almost. Well, we're still debating on whether or not barter has a stigmatism attached to
Oh,
it.
okay, we're done with that. We're over it. They all voted either for us or against us. I may have fucked up the conversation and whatever, so skip that. Um, within the slavery money system that we all know we live in, we can say that, right? We can say we all know we live within a slavery money system.
I could say that. Yeah, I hope everybody can say that. It's
Well,
obvious.
well, that's you and I, and that's the chat, and the chat does too. Since we're here, yes, Sage Universe, I think I fucked it up, but yes, since we're here in this slavery system of money and usury that puts fake interest on fake stuff they don't give you anyway. And we can look at communities who are underserved through the money system. And we can look at the 2% that own 60% of the United States and probably Canada, if not more in the Commonwealth countries. We can understand why there's so much anger, so much angst, so much violence directed towards the system. But until the people who are in that understand that it's not the white man, it's not the political man, it's not the man in the blue uniform, it's not any of those people that are causing this, it's the system of money that is a mind virus that we've all adopted and we all have to deal with as best we can. That until that system breaks down, there's never going to be human liberty.
Yeah, as long as there's a tax man, we're never going to have freedom.
Well, and how could there be a tax man if you were born as a sovereign human under the creator, God, Big Bang, whatever the fuck you, I mean, if you believe in the Big Bang and you came from monkeys, great, but they didn't bring you here. The person who wants your money did not invent you. They did not bring you here. And unless and until all of us say, no, no, you can't have that from us, we're going to be trapped in the slavery system.
Right. And remember going back to the show we did on Tavistock with the Beatles, okay? They had a song called Tax Man. If you
Right.
listen, if you like look at the words there, it's they're basically slapping you in the face about the whole monetary system. So like, yeah, go out, make your money, but we're going to take some of it for no reason. And we're going to tell you that it's a good reason. And then we're going to invent other taxes that we're going to tell you that we're just going to take them and you don't have a choice. We're just going to take them right off your paycheck. We have this thing in Canada called unemployment insurance, and you don't have a choice. If you have a job, the money comes directly off your paycheck and it goes to the government. Now,
And your employer has to pay a portion as well.
exactly. But here's the thing. If you never, ever go on unemployment, you never get that money back.
Right.
And there's no way you can opt out of it. And if you do go on unemployment, they tax you on it again.
Right. So you have to file your unemployment on the 1040 form or
Yeah,
on the government form.
exactly. So
Yeah.
it's I mean, like if anyone who's ever been in that situation, if that didn't wake you up to the sham that the money system actually is, then I don't know what will. Yeah, how can they tax you on something that you don't have a choice to pay, and then when you decide to claim it because you end up out of work and that's what it's for, that not only do you have to jump through a million flaming hoops to prove that you're unemployed for a good enough reason to actually claim that money back that they've been stealing from you for your entire career.
In the first place. Right.
Yeah, and then they tax you on it when at the end of the year because that's a form of income. It's just ridiculous.
Do you guys have a system called like Social Security?
Yeah, it's like welfare, I guess you would call it
No,
here.
no. Like in America, we pay into something called Social Security, and then when we're 62 or 65, we're supposed to get that money back for our retirement.
Oh yeah, we have something like that. It's not called the same thing, but it's something like that. And I'm pretty sure that anybody my age or younger in Canada wouldn't get your hopes up. You're not getting it back.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And in America, same thing.
it's called the Canadian Pension Plan, I think, the
Okay.
CPP, and it's everybody pays into the tax. If you
It
have a
comes
job, you
out of your
pay
check.
into it. Yeah,
Right.
it doesn't matter if you're Canadian or not. If you have a job, you still pay into that same tax.
Right. So here we are now, and I think we covered a lot of interesting, good stuff about money.
Yeah,
Personally, I think we covered a lot.
yeah, I think we covered a bit about money for sure. I
I don't
still
think we solved it because you still have a fundamental conflict with me, but go ahead.
no, I want to encourage anybody who's listening to this to put into the comments on this video where they think the actual real origin of money came from. Like, who was the first sucker to take a freaking gold coin for a cow, and then how did he convince the second sucker to take that gold coin for something else? Like, how did it? It didn't just start by itself, is what I'm saying. Like, it had to have been uh like a program that was taught. It can't just be figured out, is what I'm saying.
No, and fair point, because I'll tell you what, in the United States and even in Canada, about less than 200 years ago, people came into lands that were occupied by people who were already here living their lives for generations.
They had no money.
No money. And the people who had no money, who were in where I'm sitting right now, Colorado, they they didn't understand the concept of it. It didn't make sense to them in the way that you're explaining it. So if you give me this thing and I kill this deer, what am I supposed to do with this stupid thing? This does me no good. The deer would do me a lot of good. And
Like
that's a
who? Yeah,
that's
like who was the
that's a
first guy that decided, okay, you know what, I'll give you all this meat for a gold coin, like
well,
that?
not even the first guy, but how about civilizations? Because the natives who were in your land and mine before, literally only a couple of hundred years ago, are said to have not had that.
Exactly, and they've lived for thousands of years before Western civilization. So why are we in this money thing? We need to get out of it.
It's a mind virus, dude.
Yep, it
It,
is.
it's just like the COVID mind virus. And Talking Head says Anunnaki could be. It could be fallen angels who gave the mind virus. Sage Universe, you're still here. Good to see you. Ascended Arbiter, hello. You're a little late to the conversation, and sorry if we missed you. But so if fallen angels could have done it, that's possible. We could be in a simulation. That's a possibility. But our history, recent history, if civilization has been around for 6,000 years in the pyramids allegedly, and 200 years is nothing compared to 6,000. So the natives who didn't they traded Manhattan for beads and plates because they didn't know what that was, right?
Right.
So
Yeah,
the island of Manhattan was said to have been traded for beads and plates.
was said to be traded for.
I'm with you. I don't know that answer.
Yeah, I don't know either. Like I honestly, that most of the history that I was taught in school, when I look back on it now,
Completely fictional bullshit.
it kind of seems somewhat unlike
Well, you cut out there, Polly, but just call it 100% fictional bullshit.
dismissed and kicked out of school or whatever. Yeah, the 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 whole I don't understand how it got like so, like, even if you go back to like the Egyptian times, they had money. And
Well, yeah, they said they had money, but we don't know that.
well, didn't they actually like find physical money?
Well, you can find things that you can call money, but you don't know if that's what it's used for.
Right, which is yeah, which is what brings me to the whole idea of how money got sort of tied into gold and
Well,
precious metals.
and they claim that Jesus went into the temple and threw over the money changers' tables a couple of thousand years ago, right?
Right? Yeah, right.
So we either have, from my view, we either have two simultaneous realities existing, one of the natural world and the native peoples, and one of the white man coming here and doing other things like Zach Sitchin says and some of these other people say, or we have a simulation that we're experiencing where none of that stuff is really true.
I almost hope it's the simulation.
Yeah, it kind of the more I look at it, the more it seems like it could be. There's a channel out there, and Chappelle, I have another job for you. Go find John Levi's channel, JONLEVI, and drop it in there, and let people take a look at that, because John Levi does some interesting things about the false history. And if you don't know that channel, Polly, I know Chappelle. Oh crap! You can do it. I trust you, John Levi. Find his channel, drop it in there.
I have looked
Um,
at the channel actually. It's really cool.
yeah, he does some interesting stuff, and it leads to more questions. And some of those questions could relate to how we are controlled by the money system. And I know when I say the money system, it triggers something in you about gold, and it triggers something in you about transactions. And for me, it triggers something about control and interest and all that kind of nonsense. So it's a different trigger.
Yeah, and I wouldn't call it nonsense either. It's just a different trigger, and it's just as valid of a trigger in my opinion because it is a form of control. And it is a mind virus. Um, People are basically born into a system where they think that a piece of paper has more value than a human life.
Well, yeah, and we can see that by the actions they take in order to get those pieces of paper or the things that it buys.
Exactly. It's not encouraging. Um, I mean, like, I think if people just woke up and realized that the money that everybody's all looking for, and it's portrayed in the media like to have a lot of money is that means you're successful. Um, I'm gonna prove all of that wrong, and I hope everybody else can do that as well. Just do what you do, be you. You don't need money to be you. Being you is free, okay? And if you're really being you, then you are free. So free has double meaning there. Um, Keep doing that, and
You cut out there, brother.
the
Oh, Paulie, we lost you a little bit when you said keep doing you.
yeah, keep doing you because eventually you're going to realize that what you give other people by being you is going to come back to you in spades, and it's not going to be money. It's going to be something more valuable than that.
Well, agreed. And I think something that just came up in the chat again, I hate to keep shouting out the same person, but Modima Rose said more importantly is the energetic surrounding the debt system, which is like in spiritual enslavement. And I'd say, of course, it is.
Yeah, that's actually a really good way of putting it too. Yeah.
Every time you go get a credit card to buy something that you don't need, that you're going to throw away in a year and pay off for 3 years, yeah, you're kind of spiritually indebting yourself to this reality. And the teacher they call Jesus said, be in the world but not of it. If you're in the world but not of it, you stay away from the debt slavery system as much as you can. And I think most people do. And yes, we all have times where we just jump in and we buy a new car or we do something. And I don't know that that's necessarily a spiritual knock on you, but I think it does have something to do with your spiritual growth.
I think that experiencing an extreme lack of money will probably provide you with an extreme growth in spirituality.
Yeah, said the poor person. No, I'm just kidding.
You're right, though.
Dude, I have been broke more times than I have been not broke.
I always find myself to be a lot more spiritually content when I know, like, okay, yeah, obviously I know everything's paid for, like, but I don't have anything left over or anything like that. And it's like, what else do I need? That I find myself asking, what else do I need? And I also find myself asking, how did I end up paying almost all of my income just to survive? Like that to me, why do people have to pay, like, okay, let's say you work 40 hours a week, right? But 30 of those hours that week goes to paying your rent. So that means you still have to work another 10 hours, and then you can only have the rest of the amount of time for like thinking about stuff that's important, or building a relationship with somebody who thinks the same way as you, or doing something creative. and possibly inspiring somebody else to do something else just as creative. They're taking all our time away from us, and they're using money as bait.
Well, for sure. And I would say, before I finish this, John from America, yes, we can do that. It's just a matter of time and space. I would love to have you on the live stream. We can chat on Discord, but you could come on a live stream next time. Just a matter of time and space. Well, I would say to that thinking and that conversation you were just having, tell me the difference between a farmer in Ireland in 1740 where he grew potatoes and a third of his potatoes always went to the crown. And if a third of his potatoes did not go to the crown, then he had severe consequences.
I would ask how back then is he able to not lie about what a third of his potatoes is?
Because they came over and they checked. They came over and they looked at his crops and they looked at his yield and they said a third of those is ours.
What if they died?
Who died?
What if the potatoes died? What if there was some weird anomaly in the soil that killed a third of the crops?
Well, then they took a third of what he had left over.
But that's what I'm saying. You could fake a death of a third of the crops and
And so,
say and hide them, and
do
then
you
they would
cheat on
take a
your
third
taxes?
of your lesser crops.
Do you cheat on your taxes?
Every chance I get, yes.
Okay, and maybe you were one of those farmers who did that, but most farmers didn't because they were afraid.
I shouldn't have said that.
No, it's fine. Nobody from the Canadian government's listened to this, I promise you.
Hopefully.
But most people back then were afraid of the consequences. So they said, I will give you a third of my potatoes so you don't rape my daughter or kill my wife or whatever. You can have them. Just let me keep my 2/3. And they were happy. And that is the same system that the Western world works on right now.
Yep, you're right. But I will say that even though I'm kind of being a little bit persistent here, like there's an easy way to hide and lie about what your actual production is. And you can do that with money as well.
Well, unless you're on paper in the digital system, and then it's not so easy.
Well,
So my,
yeah.
my employer sends them information about what I make. And my employer takes out what they're supposed to take out on my behalf, and there's no way for me to avoid that. If I didn't have an employer and I worked for cash and I worked in the what they call a black market, it'd be easy to hide. Absolutely.
We
And
should call it under the table.
I did that for 5 years. I owned a sprinkler company. I never reported a dime. I wasn't registered as a sprinkler company. Everything I took in, I kept, and I did it. I never got caught. It was no big deal. So I agree that that's a possibility, but unless you have a certain skill or the ability to do that, you're stuck working at that flipping Walmart, and they're taking your taxes, and you're a serf on the land.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it seems like to me the one of the best ways to even explore getting out of the whole monetary system is skills, skills or resources. If you have one or the other, you might be able to sort of scooch around the whole monetary system with by using those said skills or resources. In I guess what you would I hate calling it this, but the barter system sort of scenario.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you're a Jeff Bezos character who is supplemented by the U.S. government, and the U.S. government gives you tax breaks, and you get the chance to go into a town, a small town, that they don't want you, you're killing small business, they don't want you, but the government says, well, we'll give you tax breaks, and you're subsidized, you can become a behemoth. And I can probably almost guarantee that everybody in this chat is smarter than Jeff Bezos. They're not as corrupt, they're not as connected, but they're damn sure smarter than him because, I mean, just because I've listened to his conversations. He's not that bright, but he knows how to work the system. And if we're in a system that is corruptible, and the money system obviously is, a person like him can do what it allegedly says he did, and now he's shutting down small business everywhere, and he's the only one who seems to be thriving, and not the only one, but one of the few who seems to be thriving during the pandemic because people were at home and they had no place else to buy something.
Yeah, convenient, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's just go to Amazon.
Yeah, it's convenient.
And
I,
let's,
you know what?
let's just go to Google.
Everybody's forced to go shop at Amazon because they can't go out. And that there's people that don't want to wear a mask to the point where they will shop at Amazon to avoid wearing a mask.
Correct. And I wouldn't say forced to, I'd say made the choice to.
Yeah, well, yeah,
We're not forced to do anything.
agreed.
We have a choice. If I'll tell you, for the past 2.5 weeks, Polly, I have not worn a mask anywhere. And we have a mandate, and I just walk into the store and nobody says shit. And I just go in and I do buy what I need to buy, and I walk out. And I did that because I was so fed up with it.
Yeah, it's getting easier to walk around without a mask these days around here, but I wanted probably point out that we're not even in September yet. And I think that we're probably going to see some sort of a second wave. Yeah, I mean, the US is experiencing way higher numbers than Canada at the moment, as far as I know. We're not getting like huge upsurges in numbers, but eventually it's going to come. As soon as like I don't know, I'm thinking 2 3 weeks after they send the kids back to school, then it's going to be a huge surge in numbers, and then people are not even going to bother asking, well, wasn't the whole like separating and mask wearing, wasn't that working? No one's going to ask that, but the numbers are going to go through the roof. They're going to shut down the economy again, and everyone's going to be forced to wear a mask. And uh yeah, get ready. It's going to be but don't worry, get ready, but don't worry, because no one's getting sick.
Well, correct. So let's flesh something out here. You don't think it's really real, do you?
I think there's something there, but I don't think it's anything there that wasn't already there like 5 10 years ago. I,
Okay, because
it's
Smurfer girl, whatevs, put you in the bad category because she said, "Oh no, he thinks it's real."
no. Okay, what I think is it's misdescribed. It's not. It's making people sick, but it's not anything new. It's a cold. It's
It's the
normal.
coronavirus.
It's a normal flu virus. That's. I mean, do you
You cut out there, brother.
be able to
All
make
right,
one for any other?
you cut
I
out
mean,
there,
come on.
Polly. You cut out at deep D.
I was gonna say, do you really think that they're gonna make a vaccine for this flu virus when they haven't been able to make one for any of the flu viruses ever in the history of flu viruses?
For 70 years.
Yeah,
70 years we have the flu virus and we still have the flu.
yeah. Nobody finds that like I just don't get it. So like most of the people that call me non-believers, I just stop talking usually at that point to them.
Does that mean we're going to have coronavirus for 70 years?
Oh, whatever. I hope so, because it just thins out the population a little bit for me, because I know who I can talk to reasonably and who I can't.
I'll
If
tell
you
you
were
what, before you keep going, John from America made a really good point. What happened to all the super bugs that we were supposed to have 10 years ago?
exactly, exactly. Remember the super bugs, the super flu that like didn't even give you 2 weeks. It just freaking took your life. You could go to on vacation and get a super bug, and boom, you're dead.
And there was no antibiotics because they were super bugs. So our
Yep,
antibiotics failed.
yep.
What happened to those fucking things?
Well, you know what happens to your body after you take antibiotics too, right? You're just more susceptible to anything else.
Right. So we know that's not real stuff.
So ties back into money too, though, because it's a business.
Another mind virus.
Yep.
And I would go back to the contention that it's a way to take your energy. And in the movie The Matrix, Morpheus said it was designed to turn the human body into a copper top battery.
Duracell.
Bingo. And the money system does that. Thanks, Ascended Arbiter. Good to see you, brother. Take care. It's designed to take the human energy of pollination or algorithm or Chappelle or Talking Heads or Sage Universe. It's designed to take your energy and steal it from you and give it to them. And as
And,
long as we keep doing that and not understanding that's what it's doing, we're going to continue the game.
and I'll add to that, Algo, because do you know the bidding war that went on between Energizer and Duracell to get that battery slot
In the movie,
in the movie?
I
Yeah.
have no
So,
idea.
well, let me just, it doesn't matter if you know about it or not, but at the root of that bidding war, guess what the root is? Money.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. And money being the energy transformation from you to somebody else. Your labor, your energy comes out of you. We're going to call it money. We're going to use it this way, and we're going to take it from you. And I would say that if we look at native cultures who didn't use money in their systems, they lived a long time, and they generally lived longer than nations that use money.
Well, I'd like to also point out too in the Matrix that they actually the bidding war that went on for that Duracell, like when Morpheus shows, Neo the battery.
Right.
There was also the other scene where you follow the White Rabbit, the Energizer Bunny.
Oh,
Yeah, that was the second place reward, sort of. Again, bought by money.
well, sure. So, interesting side note. Derailed me a little bit, but I like it.
Sorry.
No, no, don't be sorry. You're my friend. We're good. The nations that, peoples that didn't use money and didn't let their energy get sucked away from them seem to have longer lives. And they probably also had way less anxiety. They had way less angst and depression because it wasn't even a thing. They didn't even have that in their thinking.
Yeah, I can't wait to get back to that because I can easily imagine that. To me, it's easy to imagine a society that doesn't have money at all. It's just a mutual, like, if you have a deficiency in some area in whatever it may be, if I have that in abundance, I'm going to share it with you. And I'm not even going to ask for anything in return because you're of the same mindset. Whereas if you have something that is in abundance to you and you recognize that I need it, you're just going to give it to me. I'm not going to have to ask you for it. Like
Right.
it's a reciprocal, uh, I guess society you would like. I mean,
No,
it's,
you're right.
I
100%.
can't think of any societies that actually mimic that, but like that, maybe society is the wrong word. Maybe community is a better word. I don't know. I just feel like the money sort of is like this huge uh like wall that's just driven between like what is really valuable and what isn't.
Well, of course. And I think we touched on this when we were talking to Felicia. Have you ever looked up Michael Tellinger
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and his Ubuntu theory?
Yes.
So that is a way to transition from the money system back to not the money system.
I think it is too. It's called micro communities is where it's going to be at. If SH really hits the fan, okay? Like if it really goes like really bad, like I'm talking about like a meteor impact or anything like that or like
Post apocalyptic. Yeah,
really really bad scenario.
sure.
It's going to be about micro communities. It's not going to be about shoving everybody into a city. That's
Well,
why they're
tell me this. How can you have a micro community in a nation of 340 million people? Or, but
Well,
yeah, 340 million people.
what I'm talking about is a lot of those people would be dead after the actual event.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So there'd be a lot of space. Like I know it's grim, but
Just wipe the bastards out so we can get on with it.
I feel like that's what they're trying to do eventually.
It
So like
seems like that's what they're doing.
the small pockets that survive, they're gonna have to be like micro communities. They're gonna have to be like friendly neighbors.
For sure. Yeah, and I will make a third more fish than I need, and I will trade that. I will barter that with you, Polly, for
Yeah,
your corn.
I'd rather trade with my neighbors than fight with them.
And I'm going to use the word barter just because I know it pisses you off.
Yeah, good. If you really want to barter, you better get yourself some cigarettes and good weed.
Dude, I'll tell you what. In Colorado, we don't need to, the weed is not the thing in Colorado
Yeah, I heard you guys got.
because it's legalized. People grow it. It's legalized. You can have 6 plants. You cut out there again, brother, but cigarettes and alcohol, lead.
Mushrooms,
Not so much because of the altitude.
but it's legal.
No, shrooms aren't legal.
I thought it was in Colorado.
No,
No?
shrooms are legal in Denver, the city and county of Denver,
Oh, okay.
and which is a shithole right now. It's going by the wayside of Portland shortly.
Whoops.
And I did put Modema Rose. No, I don't smoke because my lungs can't handle it. I grow it and I give it away, but I don't smoke. I put a video up on my channel, and I know, Polly, you're not even subscribed to me, sucker, but
Yeah, I am.
are you?
Yeah.
Okay,
I comment on your videos all the time.
I know, I didn't know you were subscribed. It's called Denver in Decay, and I made that little video about the trailer.
Yeah, I got the bell icon clicked and everything.
Okay, so Denver in Decay, it's exactly what's happening in other cities where certain political affiliations has, caused nonsense. Salted cedar, if you need some seeds, go into Discord at Kev Baker. Pollination will send you seeds. I will send you seeds.
I will hook you up.
Polly is a seed master, just for the record. And pollination is, think about the name. Pollination.
Yeah, there's a reason behind that name. There's actually many reasons behind that name. So if anybody, anytime, anywhere that listens to this, even later, if they would like to explore the idea of growing their own, hit me up.
And if you're not in KBS Discord, then go over to KBS, hang around. You can be in Discord. But pollination, partially because he doesn't want to give his real name, or else he'd be in jail in Canada.
No, I wouldn't be in jail. But yeah, but my real name's not that hard to find.
I've never looked. That might be a task of mine.
I might hide it now.
We probably should.
Maybe.
So anyway, I think we covered what we wanted to cover. I think I can tell from reading the chat while we're going, everybody out here knows we live in a bastardized slavery system of fake money that does create most of the problems within society. And if we got rid of that, we could alleviate those. But for people who are Christian and for people who have read the Bible and aren't Christian, who just have some understanding of what that book's trying to tell us, we do live in a fallen world. Clearly. We live in a world where the money system can be a mind virus that can overtake common sense, rationality, and compassion, and can cause so many problems for real life human beings in an everyday system. And I think that's tragic. And I would do my best to try to overcome that, and I'm trying to, by not only having Polly on for this video, but trying to live my truth and really give my labor freely without money. And I don't know where we go from here, but I think the people who are here understand that probably true, the Rotman. It does feel like Revelation times, and definitely Talking Heads. It is flat. And Paul, you and I can talk about that some other time. And John from America, it is the root of all evil. And hey, the Rotman, how's Victoria? Before we sign off here, Victoria seems like it's fucked, and I haven't heard from Luna. So the Rotman, let me know. Tell me what's going on down there. Is it as bad as the media seems to be telling us? Is it getting locked down as hard as it seems to be? So hopefully he'll hear me and type it in there. But Poly Nation, Paul,
Shout out to Kenny down under, by the way. Prayers down there. Hopefully you're not going through any of that stuff.
yeah, for sure. Shout out to everybody down there, right?
Yeah, I mean, if it's right, because if it's flat, then it can't be down there.
Over there. I always say over there. How you doing over there?
Yeah.
The
Anybody to the left or right is over there.
over there. Are you over there? How's it going? No, but I thank you for coming on. This is kind of an impromptu stream that we didn't imagine having, but I'm so glad all of you are here. Long Reach One, where you been, buddy? It's under martial law. Algo mandatory masks. They want forced vaccinations, and they want to lock down my state for another 12 months, says the Rot Man.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so for sure, all of you people out there who feel a kinship to our Australian cousins, we have to send love and light, big time prayers to all of them because of what they're dealing with. And secondly, if you can muster it, put the guns on the ship and sail over there. If I had the money, I would load up a ship full of guns and I would take them to my cousins in Australia and say, "Fuck no, we're not doing this," because it's gonna. I think China is the example,
And you know what? You just freaking proved why they put money system in there in the first place. It's because you don't have the money that you can't go do anything about it.
Agreed. I think China is the example of the cashless society social credit system. I think Australia is the model for the Western world that we're going to go through. And no, John from America, guns are not good, but they're effective. They're efficient. They're not good, but they're efficient. So I will tell you, I will take a dark mark on my soul for using a gun, but they're efficient tools to solve big problems. And what I see in Australia is a big problem.
I see a huge problem as well. And on the topic of guns, we could do a whole other show just on that alone.
Well, we could, but you're Canadian and you don't have guns.
Well, I still have opinions.
Of course.
In Canada, we're allowed to have opinions.
Are you? Because in America, we're not. We can't have opinions in America, but we can have guns.
I know.
How crazy is that?
It's nuts. I know it's nuts, but I still love you guys.
Hey, we love our neighbors to the north, and honestly, most of us aspire to be Canadian because we know Canadians are the better version of ourselves. Except when Trudeau got up there and fucked it all up. So,
well, he wasn't the first Trudeau.
No, he wasn't, and the other one was worse.
Yeah.
Oh my God! And Sage Universe knows that Jesus was a soldier. Hell yeah. Jesus was the original rebel against the mind virus of money and the mind virus of control. And if anybody got anything out of this tonight, own your own mind. Don't listen to them. If you don't believe you need a mask to go somewhere, don't put a mask on. If you don't believe you're going to hurt somebody else or be in jeopardy yourself, don't put a mask on. Seriously. You guys own your shit. I'm owning it. And I'm going to, if you want, I'll make videos about it. My camera sucks because I have a BlackBerry. But I'll make a video and I will just walk in and you guys can see it. But own your own responsibility. That would be my ending message. Paulie, give us your ending message, and then we're going to bounce out of here, brother.
Okay. Your responsibility, going back with along with what Algo just said, it doesn't cost you anything monetarily. It may cost you something monetarily. So what do you have to worry about? Because we're all monetary slaves. If this kind of action doesn't cost you anything monetarily, then we can almost use the monetary system against itself in a way. So yeah, defy, defy as much as you can, and defiance is free, and thought is free. Um, be grateful for the things that don't cost you any money. Focus on that, because that's the only way we're going to ever convince other people to get out of the monetary system, is to be grateful for the things that don't cost anything. Simple things. Simplify your lives. And the less you need money, the better off you'll be in the future, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Well said. And I would leave one more thing. Silence is implied consent. So if you don't speak up against it, you were giving implied consent. And that's kind of harsh. And I apologize because I love y'all. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Paulie. Thank you, Paulie Nation. Get on a Discord, find Paulie. He will send you seeds of the utmost quality. And we will do this next time.
Stay bright.